Hello everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to Pau in the southwest of France, just close to the Pyrenees, for this wonderful event here, a street race on the calendar for the second weekend of the season for the GT4 European Series, powered by Competition102. I'm Chris Hartley here in France for you, and we are soon to get our second race of the weekend underway after a fabulous event last night, the first night race since Misano last year. And we had some great racing, lots more overtaking than you might have expected around a narrow, twisty street circuit. And we had a very, very close finish. You can see the starting grid for this second race, which is going to have the driver on pole position who finished second in yesterday's race, Nicola Moller-Madsen, the Danish driver, and the number 19 Pro Sport performance car, who shares that with Andreas Patzelt. That car was on pole yesterday, but finished in second. One of the KTMs just getting into a bit of a slidey spin there. We just saw as we cut away. I think it was the 44 RYS team car, and yes, it was. No, sorry, it was number 14 as we cut back to it. So that's one of the young Star teams, car number 14. Jamie Vandenbalk, the driver who's going to start the race, getting it crossed up. And it's not surprising because, look, he's got slick tyres on, but that track is drying rather than dry, because it's been, well, the story of the weekend so far has been the weather really here in Pau. So often beautifully hot. This weekend, in fact, for half of the week, it's been very, very rainy. It's supposed to be dry today, and certainly this afternoon I think is going to be good. But yesterday, for certainly the first half of the day, it was very wet. Then it looked like it was going to dry out. The car started on slick tyres in the night race, and then we did have quite a heavy shower in the middle of the race. It started off this morning looking like it was going to be pretty wet. Then it started to dry out, and people went from wet to slick tyres not very long before they came out onto the track. So as you can see, slick tyres and any kind of dampness, any kind of moisture on the circuit does not combine well, and that's the reason that there was the spin there for Jamie Vandenbalk, the Belgian driver. So we're in the city of Pau, this annual event, the Grand Prix de Pau, which started its roots back in 1930 and was at one point home to Formula One, not the official Formula One World Championship that started in 1950, but pre-war, when there were Grand Prix and Formula One car, they raced here. And the Grand Prix title has been run for Formula One cars, Formula 2 cars, these days for Formula 3 cars, and some legendary names have won here on the streets of Pau. Drivers like Juan Manuel Fangio and Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart, who all went on to become very successful Grand Prix champions, of course. Lewis Hamilton, somebody else that's won here, another 3 times Formula One world champion. It's hugely challenging. It's even narrower than the Monte Carlo circuit used for the Monaco Grand Prix. It's an incredibly undulating circuit. The first half of the lap, once you come out of the first corner at Gare corner, station corner, that really does climb uphill for a kilometre or so. And then the second half of the lap is all downhill, fast chicanes. So a real challenge for the drivers. There is Nicola Moller-Madsen, who's going to start the number 19 Pro Sport performance car on pole position. He really acquitted himself very well in the race yesterday when he came out into the dark. He's new to GT racing, having come from the Audi TT Cup, supporting DTM races last year. Before that, he was a front-runner in the Sirocco R Cup. But from touring car and tin tops and short sprint races, he's come into GTs and looked very good, and certainly gave the eventual winner a real run for his money yesterday. The win went to Peter Terting and Jörg Wiebahn. That car, which was started by Jörg Wiebahn from the outside of row 1, got straight into the lead of the race. We had a nose-to-tail battle for the first half of the race between the two Porsches. The gap spread a little bit in the middle of the race, and then Moller-Madsen really did try to put the pressure on the race winner through the traffic. He was very impressive indeed, but as I say, by 4 seconds, it was Jörg Wiebahn, Peter Terting, that went on to win the race, this car. And so it was a Porsche 1-2. A Porsche came in 1-2, and a 1-2 finish for Pro Sport Performance in the first event of the season at Monza. Fittingly, I suppose, we had Maseratis winning both of the races, but Porsches seems to be the car to have here. The 2 Porsches were well clear of the rest of the field. Third place in yesterday's race going to the number 84 KTM crossbow of the Reiter Young Stars team, Hohenberg car, driven by Maciej Streser and Mads Siljehaug, who had a very good drive, but were a fairly distant third. And fourth place yesterday went to the number 1 V8 Racing backed Chevrolet Camaro, which was driven by Marcel Nuren and Donald Molinar. That finished in 4th place, just ahead of the best amateur class car, which was the number 28 Allied Racing BMW. That won the amateur class yesterday evening with Jan Kasperlik and Dietmar Lackinger. So a fantastic race yesterday, a night race. It started off in sort of semi-light conditions, dusk, and then 15 minutes or so into the race, it got properly dark. We had some rain as well, and we had some really good battles down the order. There you can see on the Reiter Engineering KTM cars, the Reiter Young Stars set up, run in conjunction with Reiter, the German engineering team's very successful GT racing team, and run with SRO, who organised the GT4 European Series, Stefan Rattel organisation, and also with KTM, designed to get young drivers and young engineers as well up through the ranks. So they have their own separate point system, the drivers in here in this championship. There is the number 8 car, another one of the, sorry, 8th on the grid, another one of the KTMs that's going to be in action. And Anna Ratter is the driver that will go second in that one. Cedric Friedberghaus will start the car. That's the number 74 machine, which went quite quickly in yesterday evening's race, up to a point. And the budget for the season for a run in the Reiter Young Stars programme for international GT racing is pretty good, actually. 59,000 euros for the season. Each team is supported by a European university. Each team has not just a young driver, but also young engineers in the squad as well, who also compete for points. And the prize for the drivers, the top male and female, is a step up to the Blancpain Sprint Cup next year in GT3. So it's a great scheme. There we can see the car 10th on the grid, which is the car which finished in 3rd place yesterday, the number 84 RYS team Hohenberg car of Maciej Stretzer and Mads Hilgehaug. So it is a Pro-Am Championship for those of you new to the GT4 European Series. It's run by SRO Motorsport. Competition102 very much support the championship. They supply the controlled fuel for the cars, and it's a Pro-Am Championship, so we have 2 divisions. Most of the teams, the majority of the teams, are in the Pro division. That's to say they have 1 professional driver and 1 amateur driver. The amateur teams have 2 amateur drivers. Speaking of which, that's the car which won the amateur class yesterday in a pretty impressive 5th place overall, number 28, the Allied Racing BMW of Jan Kasperlik and Dietmar Lackinger. That car, for a while in the race yesterday, was quite smoky, and we wondered if it was going to finish the race, but the smoke disappeared after a couple of laps, and it did finish. It actually was carrying damage, we learned later, had a clip with the barriers as early as the 2nd lap of the race, and reportedly the driver got on the radio to the team. The team said, well, you've got a steering wheel, you've got 4 wheels, and it seems to be working, so carry on and finish the race. That's exactly what he did. The team finishing as the amateur class winners in 5th place overall. The next best amateurs yesterday were the number 24 pairing of Tim Stupler and Leonard Marianek in the RYS Team Hollinger KTM, who finished in 8th place overall. And then Steve Licorice and Graham Mundy for the Bruckspeed team in their Porsche were 3rd best amateurs. So it's a Pro-Am class category here. It's 2 drivers for all of the teams, but it doesn't have to be. You can drive solo. The majority of the teams are paired up. There is just 1 car out there which is being driven solo, and that is Luca Anselmi, who came into the weekend as the championship leader. He's in the number 90 Maserati. Came from the back of the field yesterday up to 9th place. No mean feats around a street circuit in the dark. Did a very good job indeed. But he's driving solo. He was due to be partnered with Giorgio Sonego, who partnered him to a race win in the first event of the season at Monza. But then that was due to change to Michele Blancheman, and then Michele had to drop out as well because of personal family reasons. And so in the end, Anselmi is driving solo. So it's a 50-minute race plus 1 lap. There is a mandatory pit stop in the middle of the race, and the pit window where you have to come in is between 20 and 30 minutes into the race. So a 10-minute pit window. There's a minimum pit stop time of 80 seconds for everybody. Except for the solo drivers who have to stop for longer to make up for the fact that there is no driver change required. It's an extra 35 seconds for them. And if you are changing tyres, then you have to do a minimum stop time of 115 seconds, so just under 2 minutes. But for most of them, it will be an 80-second stop. That doesn't mean you've got loads of time, and certainly the teams will be very much drilled in their driver changeovers to make sure they get as close to that 80 seconds in and out time of the pits as is possible, because 1 second lost around here could cost you a place, and if you get stuck behind somebody around a street circuit, it's not going to be easy to come through. The Camaros had mixed fortunes yesterday, having gone well and been on the podium at Monza. As I say, it was a good result in the end for the number 1 V8 pairing, the V8 racing pairing of Marcel Nuren and Donald Molenaar, finishing in 4th place overall. But the sister car, driven by Luke Brahms and Duncan Houseman, which went very well at Monza and was very competitive, had a couple of moments. One glance with the barrier with an overtake, and then a problem later on which put them out of the race. And the only real story to bring you from overnight is that there was a crash yesterday in the race for the number 8 Racing Team Holland car, the Ecris Motorsport car, that beautiful looking bright orange Ecris M4 BMW. Unfortunately, the car, which is driven by Rob Severs and Simon Knapp, is out of the race. Too badly damaged to start today, so it was due to be 7th on the grid. It won't be there, I'm afraid. And for 2 beautifully prepared, beautiful looking cars, both of them out, I'm afraid, because the sister car crashed in practice. Ricardo van der Ende and Bernard van Oranje due to share that one, so it didn't even get to start the race. So both the cars are out, except to say that Ricardo van der Ende was switched across to join up with Andre Grammatico in the number 17 BMW M3 before the qualifying session yesterday. So he switched cars. Andre was due to drive solo, but he's now got the Formula Ford Festival winner and Dutch GT driver with him, Ricardo van der Ende, who we know is a seriously quick driver. Had a good pair of outings at Monza, the first race, Ricardo van der Ende. And Van Oranje got 2nd place and then had a pretty steady run into 6th place in race 2 at Monza. And yesterday, Andre Grammatico, who started the race, kept the car very much in the mix in 7th, 8th position. Then Ricardo van der Ende got in and finished off the job, and it finished in 6th place overall. So number 17 could well be one to watch here. So the rolling start due to get underway. There is the green livery, green and white livery of Nicola Molle-Madsen, number 19. Alongside is Ricardo van der Ende. It's whichever driver started yesterday's race goes 2nd this time. That's the rule. So each driver gets to start a race. And the red lights are about to go out. The race is about to get underway here at Pau. And 50 minutes of action gets underway. The Competition 102 GT4's Nicola Molle-Madsen with a perfect start to the race. He's going to get the lead here from Ricardo van der Ende in the BMW M3. Yesterday we had a Porsche 1.2. At the moment we've got a Porsche 1.3 because the sister car of the race leader, driven by Peter Terting, the ex-DTM and World Touring Car racer, is there. And cars being held up again. So it looked like they're going to blast away then, but not quite ready for it. Slowing up once more. The clock continues to tick. And they also have to be wary on the street circuit of the rule that they have that you can't actually overtake once the race gets underway until you reach turn 2 at Pont Oscar. So that is well worth bearing in mind. So you'll see yellow flags. You'll have seen perhaps in the corner of the screen yellow flags waving, which makes you think, oh, there's been an accident already, but not so. You have to sit tight, and so it almost becomes like another part of the safety car. So you can do what you like into the first corner, I suppose, because you can't really control things in that sense. But then it becomes single file again up until you get to the top of Avenue de Pyrénées and the second turn. It's a replay of the start, and perfect start for Nicola Molle-Madsen. And then he kind of became the safety car, didn't he? They were going at a relatively calm pace up until they got to the Pont d'Oscar, and then once they'd gone past the green flag zone, they were free to release themselves again. And the idea of that, of course, is that around a street circuit, the most likely time for a big pile-up is going to be at the start of the race. So that's the reason the rule is rule. So it looks slightly odd when the cars are going that slowly up the hill, but it works because everybody is safely through. We'll keep an eye on that number 84 car because, as I say, it was 3rd yesterday. Mads Siljehaug pulled off some good overtaking in the first half of the race to get right up there, and Mathis Dreza is the driver that starts the car this time. So Nicola Molle-Madsen at the front of the field, Ricardo van der Ende in 2nd place, Peter Terting in the Porsche. He's going to be next up, and the race is going to be red flagged. So slightly odd start this to the race. It's a bit stop-start, isn't it? But now the race is going to be red flagged. One moment it looks like they're flat out, the next moment it looks like they're stopping. This time they are definitely stopping, and for a reason as yet unknown, that race is going to be stopped. Right, okay, technical problems with the lights, extra formation lap. So that's why some people look like they were going for hell for leather, and some people look like they were not quite sure if it was supposed to be still up behind the safety car. and that is the reason, a technical issue with the lights. So they're being given an extra formation lap. So they have to get back into their original positions if anybody jostled around. Certainly at the front of the field, they stayed as they were, though, didn't they? Nicola Moller-Madsen ahead of Ricardo van der Ende and Peter Terting. And yeah, I think still fourth anyway was the Chevrolet Camaro, driven by Duncan Hausman. So that was the reason for the confusion. As I say, the race got underway, the time started to tick down, and it was a fair old jostle into the first corner. Then they obviously got the message before we did on the radios, because they were cruising up the hill. As I say, you can't overtake there anyway until you get to turn 2. And then it looked like they were battling again, and then it looked like they definitely got the message that, no, this is a full start, we're going to have to go again. The good thing with this is, look, the sun's come out, and the track is drying all the time. And I'm pretty sure they would have all gone for the option to run on slick tyres. And the longer they can delay the start of the race, the better it's going to be for everybody on slick tyres. It is still, though, it's worth pointing out, very, very damp offline. They're going to start the race with the flag, I'm being told. So because of the technical problem with the lights, we'll have a start behind the flag. The drivers will have been made aware of that via race control, and also that message will have come to them via the teams over the team radios as well. So Nicola Moller-Madsen leads them around. Peter Terting looking to get a good start, get ahead of Ricardo van der Ende if he can, and get his Porsche tucked in behind his teammate. Certainly a better side of the grid here, so it might be a tricky start for Ricardo van der Ende from second on the grid. Being stopped now while the situation is sorted out. Moller-Madsen, the tall Danish driver, a race winner, and as I said yesterday in the commentary, a race winner around the streets of the Norris Ring in his touring car career. He was only racing for a few years, but already a race winner and enjoying street circuits. Enjoys the wet conditions as well, so it was made for him last night, really, with a bit of rain thrown in. Street circuit, the night race. As I said, one of the issues with the night race for a lot of the drivers last night was once the cars started to lap one another, because the poor old marshals were waving blue flags to the slower cars, but of course, you know, you can't really see the blue flags when you're driving around the streets at night, concentrating on not hitting the barriers. The race is going to be slightly curtailed down to 45 minutes plus one lap, so they're going to knock 5 minutes off to try and keep the day's timetable running while they resort the grid. And yeah, one of the issues was that people were getting stuck behind back markers. In particular, the car which finished in third place, we had Maciej Dresen, number 84 in the KTM, who was stuck behind Jamie Vandenbalk in his number 14 KTM, which was quite quick, to be fair to it, but really should have been moving over to let the number 84 car through, because he was trying to lap him, but he got stuck behind him for a couple of laps. And in fairness to Jamie, you can't really see the blue flags, and when you've just got dazzling lights in your wing mirrors, how do you know who it is? It might be somebody that you are actually battling for position against, then you don't want to be letting them through. So that was a bit of an issue, but not too much of a problem, and because the gap back to fourth place was quite large, it didn't affect the results in the end. But just on the way to the commentary box, I was speaking to another of the drivers that is with the Writer Young Stars scheme, Rebecca Jackson, who's spent some years racing in Porsches in the UK, and is also doing some mini racing this year. We'll be at Paul Ricard's GT3 car next weekend, and she was telling me just how difficult it is because of the glare in the mirrors. You can't tell how close the car is behind you. Is it right behind you? Is it 20 metres behind you? Do you need to defend into a corner or not? Get a replay of the start here where they were all going for it, at least half of them were, before the message came through to us all that it was going to be a full start. And the other thing is, it's pretty hard to see out of the cockpits of these cars. You can't see, in the KTMs, you can't see out of the rear window at all. You've got the netting to one side, so your view is very much restricted. And that was one of the issues. But having said all of that, she had a big smile on her face and said, I absolutely loved driving it. She did compete in the Dubai 24 Hours, but didn't get to race at night because the car by another driver was crashed. So last night, her first taste of night racing, and she absolutely loved it, as I think did most people. So they're being regridded in correct positions. Very shortly we'll get the cars up and running again. Be another formation lap, then the rolling start. Then just to remind you 45 minutes it's now going to be, plus 1 lap, rather than the original distance of 50 minutes plus 1 lap. So Nicola Moller-Madsen on pole position. Ricardo van der Ende, who had a glistening single-seater career, who was a Winter Formula Ford champion in the UK, won the internationally famous Formula Ford Festival in 1999, the year after Jenson Button won it, and then went back to karting for a while in Rotax karting, European karting in 125cc karts. He was very successful, then came back, did some single-seaters, and eventually progressed into GT racing, and seems to have found a real home for himself here in the Competition102 GT4 European Series. Third on the grid is going to be Peter Terting. It's a name you might remember from the past, not that he's particularly old or anything. He's only in his early 30s, 34 years of age, 32 years of age rather. But he used to race in the DTM, the German Touring Car Championship. He had a very promising career as a youngster. As a teenager, he won the one-make VW Lupo Cup in 2002. And then he got the call up to race for Sportsline with the top teams, top Audi teams in DTM at the age of 19. He raced in DTM. It didn't go particularly well for him, and then he moved on. Went on to race in the German Seat Leon Championship. Did very well in that. He won it, and that got him a full-time drive in the World Touring Car Championship for Seat alongside Ricard Riedel and Jorge Genet. Finished 12th overall in that championship. So Peter Terting, third on the grid for this one. Another very experienced driver. Fourth on the grid is Duncan Hausman, who last year was second in this championship and also finished second runner-up in Dutch GT4s. He was a class winner last year as well at the start of the year at the Dubai 24-hour race in a Renault Megane. Also contested the Nürburgring 24-hour. He was a Nürburgring 24-hour winner, Duncan Hausman, back in 2005. Twice he's been a runner-up. He's raced in Swedish touring cars very successfully. He's raced in the FIA GT1 World Championships, in Dutch and Belgian GT4 Championships, and is the brother of Patrick Hausman, who is a multiple race winner in the Porsche Super Cup, the main Porsche Championship which runs alongside Formula 1 Grand Prix. Patrick, his brother, the runner-up in that championship in 2005, and somebody that's also raced endurance racing because he was a runner-up in class at Le Mans in the late 1990s behind the wheel of, what else, a Porsche. So Duncan Hausman fourth on the grid, fifth on the grid, starting the race today in the first of the Writer Young Stars cars. Car number 44 is Thomas Krebs. Thomas is a university student, one of the younger drivers on the grid, only in his early 20s. And as recently as 2012 was racing in the European Karting Championships, where he finished in third place. A couple of wins in the German Karting Championships at Kerpen, a circuit where Michael Schumacher made a name for himself before becoming a record-breaking Grand Prix winner and multiple world champion. And at Wackersdorf, a beautiful circuit in Germany, which has all the facilities you'd expect from a top-class racetrack. So, karting a few years ago, now racing in GTs. That's Thomas Krebs, fifth on the grid. Jamie van den Balk, who had that spin on slick tyres on a damp part of the course going up the Avenue de Pyrénées on the formation lap. He's going to start sixth on the grid in car number 14, eighth on the grid. Then pushed up to seventh is going to be Cedric Vrijberghuis, because seventh on the grid was meant to be the Racing Team Holland Ecris M4 of Simon Knap and Rob Severs, but that crashed out yesterday and the team unable to fix the car. So that effectively puts Cedric Vrijberghuis in the next of the KTM crossbows up to seventh place, and up to eighth place Marco Ellis Kangas in a similar car number 34. In fact, you've got all of the KTM crossbows are all together. They are literally all together. They're going to be 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th on the grid. Perhaps, again, one to watch out for in the race. He's not as far back as he was yesterday, is Luca Anselmi, who came charging through in the number 90 Maserati. He's 13th on the grid this time with a bit less work to do. OK, hopefully, second time lucky it will be. The safety car peels in, and this time with the flag start, the French flag, the tricolour waves, and the race does get underway this time. And it's a great start for Ricardo van der Ende around the outsides. A bit of wheel rubbing as well, with Peter Terting coming up against the big heavy Chevrolet Camaro, and And that's poor course damage to the front left look of the number 18 Pro Sport Performance car. Peter Terting has got bodywork rubbing on the wheel. The green and black Camaro, driven by Duncan Houseman, is charging up through the field here. He's going to be in second place in a moment. Touches wheels with the other Porsche of the pole sitter, Nicola Moller-Madsen. But a fantastic start for the new race leader, Ricardo van der Ende, in that BMW M3, forcing his way up to second place. Duncan Houseman here, not without contact, it has to be said. The Porsches won't be best pleased with him, but he's through. And then the pole sitter, Nicola Moller-Madsen, there he is in the green and white Porsche, down to third place. And I hope not too much damage. Possibly there is, though, the way it's leering around for the number 18 car of Peter Terting, which definitely had a bit of smoke coming from the wheel arches. Hopefully that bodywork will rub clear and it won't cause him a puncture or a problem. But of course, easy to get the cars out of shape on cold tyres, given that it's still some damp patches around the course. Up in the park section of the track, around Park Beaumont, it's very shaded with the public park in the middle of the course. And any area that's shaded, of course, takes longer to dry up. The sun can't reach it. There you see through the second chicane some damp patches here as they run down towards the final corner. And here, it's still very damp offline. Look, a dry line where you need to be, but if you want to overtake or you make a mistake and run wide, you are going to be a passenger on slick tyres. So the leaders go through, a big gap back then to fourth and fifth, which is the first of the KTMs, which is the driver that spun on the formation lap, number 14, Jamie van den Balk, having a good start here in fifth place. So putting any negative thoughts out of his mind and just getting on with the business of driving very quickly. At sixth place, we've got number 44, which is the next of the Writer Young Stars KTM Crossbows, Thomas Krebs, who I was talking about earlier. His teammate Rebecca Jackson will be looking forward to getting in the car. And here's another Chevrolet Camaro about to launch another move up the inside into Pont Blanc, under the bridge to get through ahead of number 28, the Allied Racing Dietmar Lackinger car, which won the amateur class yesterday. So tidy move that up the inside on the way under the bridge at Pont Oscar. And the Chevrolet Camaro, not for the first time this weekend, sort of muscling its way through the big V8 with all of its immense amount of horsepower. That car, perhaps not the most nimble, perhaps not the most suited to a tight, twisty street circuit. It's got 6.2 litre V8 engine, for goodness sake, and 426 brake horsepower with the driver is supposed to try and control with not much room to run off here and not much grip at the moment with the track still drying. But despite all of that, the Chevrolet's going well. They should be more competitive in the dry than they were in the wet yesterday. And even in the wet, they look fairly competitive. Now look at this. Bit of a queue starting to form up between fourth, fifth and sixth positions. Peter Terting is heading into the pits, I think, yeah. And, well, I wonder if that contact at the start of the race is the reason for that. The Porsche heads in. The Camaro continues to battle its way through the order here. It's just ahead of the number 24 KTM Crossbow, the Hollinger car. And then the BMW in the mix as well. Number 28, the Allied Racing car, driven by Jan Kasperlik. So this battle just in and around eighth position. Here is a replay of this pretty forceful move. Now that was on the other Porsche. Duncan Houseman had already rubbed wheels with the first of the Porsches of Peter Terting, which is now into the pits. So number 18, Peter Terting, being pushed back and not looking like it's going to go back out anytime soon. Door is open. Driver, I think, is about to get out of the car. In the background, you can see his teammate, your V-Barn. And that's motorsport in a nutshell, isn't it? 1 minute you are jumping for joy on top of the world. You're the race winners, beaming from ear to ear. Next race, early on, first corner almost, it's all over for you. The highs and lows of motorsport. It's one of those sports where you can't control everything. You can't control anything like the portion you can control in other sports. If you lose at golf or football or tennis, it's probably just because you were beaten by a better player or you weren't quite up to it on the day. In motorsport, you can do everything right and still have a terrible result. So here we see the battle for second position. Duncan Houseman, who may have got the coattails up a little bit of Nicola Moller-Madsen, the way he came through on the run into Pont Oscar, this left-hander. Under the bridge they go. Climbing uphill they continue to do around the first part of the lap. And out of here they go up to Lisi Bartow, it's tight right-hand corner. And then the circuit opens up and really levels off, and the speed through the left-hander, the unnamed left-hander, and the big arcing right-hander at Park Beaumont. Absolutely incredible. A great place to go and watch the action. Still very damp offline. If you want to, we saw some moves up the inside there yesterday, one or two of which ended towards the barriers, but if you wanted to try that today, it's not very advisable because it's very, very damp on the inside line on the way into that right-hand up. And here under the trees, you see at the edge of the circuit where the Pirelli tyres are not mopping up the surface water, it is still a bit treacherous. Second half of the lap looks largely dry though, and through the chicanes they're able to run over the curbs. And getting a couple of wheels up in the air there was Donald Molinar in the blue and black V8 Racing International Run Chevrolet Camaro. He's got a queue forming up behind him though. Look at the BMW, makes contact there, the Allied Racing BMW, and into the barrier, I'm afraid, goes number 84. That's Maciej Dresa, that's the car which finished third yesterday. And of course, once he was forced out wide, it was damp as well, wasn't it? And it just understeered into the barrier. So the BMW forcing its way through. That was for 7th place. The race leader is Ricardo van der Ende, number 17 still, who is 5 seconds clear. Here's a replay. Door was open, BMW had a go, then the door closed as he turned in. Contact between the left front corner of the BMW and the right rear corner of the KTM. And it was already at an angle coming out of the apex of the corner. And he didn't take much of a touch for it to be forced into the barrier. Hopefully it will get going again and carry on, but it will be considerably lower down the order than it was. Let me give you the order then. You can see at times the graphic on the screen, but to update you, it's number 17 from that great start from the outside of row 1. And again, the outside of row 1 seems to be the place to be. We had the driver second on the grid getting into the lead yesterday. Same thing happens today. Different driver, different car. It's Ricardo van der Ende in the number 17 BMW Espace. The BMW team, the car 5 seconds clear of the number 2 Camaro, driven by Duncan Hausman. Then we have in third place Nicola Moller-Madsen, the pole position driver, finished runner-up in yesterday's race. Fourth place is still Jamie van den Balk in the number 14 KTM. Fifth place is another KTM, number 44, still running well, Thomas Krebs. And then in sixth place we have got the number 74 KTM, Cedric Freeberghaus, the true racing entered car. Seventh place, the next of the Camaros, that's Donald Molinar, car number 1. Eighth place, we've got number 28, the BMW, and there is a KTM in trouble. That car was running third for the first half of yesterday's race when Chris Vlok was behind the wheel. The New Zealander, Emmanuel Vinker, took over. It ended up in 11th place in the end. This time, it's ended up, I'm afraid, in the barriers here. We've already had more incidents, I think, than we had in the night race, which is incredible, really. You'd think it was so tough last night with the conditions, with the lack of visibility, with the rain coming down. Then again, I suppose, at least they had, for most of the race, the right tyres on the car, but slick tyres is absolutely the way to go. Still treacherous, though, if you run just slightly wide. And here comes a replay, and this looks like Luca Anselmi making up more places. Came from near the back of the field to finish in a very credible 9th place yesterday and pulled off some great overtaking. He's now up into the top 10, not quite as low down the grid for this one. He was 13th on the grid. But the driver who entered the weekend as the narrow points leader after the first event of the season at Monza comes through and gains another place. So his next target is going to be the number 28 BMW of Jan Kasperlik. There's the race leader, Ricardo van der Ende. Everybody more or less in the top 10, getting faster and faster, new personal best lap times. He is quicker than anybody at the moment, though. 6.8 seconds clear of this, the battle for second place. And it's nose to tail once again. And the Camaro is big, it's wide, and it's not going to be shifted from second place very easily. Nicola Moller-Madsen's trying to find a gap, trying to itch his way through somewhere. All he can do is put the pressure on, but now I say that, he tries up the inside, gets all over the curbs, the back end of the car spins away from him almost. He lights the tyres up and corrects it, gets it back in the right direction. But fantastic car control from Moller-Madsen. The Camaro was deep and wide into the corner, the door was open. Get an instant replay of that. Look, you can see why he went for it, but to get so tight to the inside, he had to clatter over the curbs. That unsettled the balance of the car, and the Porsche almost went away from him. But great reactions from the Dane, and it won't be long, I don't think, before he catches back up to the Camaro, which tells you he's the quicker car. But the quicker car cannot get through. So Nicola Moller-Madsen, more and more frustrated in third place. And it shows you how important it is going to be for the teams once we get to the pit stops for them to be millimetre perfect. Because if they can get that Porsche close as possible to the minimum pit stop time, if they can gain half a second or a second in that pit stop, over their rivals at V8 Racing, that would be enough to get him in front, and that would change the whole complexion of the race. So Ricardo van der Ende, number 17, leads in the BMW M3. We've had 2 wins this season for Maseratis, both at Monza. We've had a win for Porsche last night here at Pau. And at the moment, we have a BMW in the lead. An eclectic mix of cars, an international field of drivers, not just from Europe, but from far afield as well, from Australia, from New Zealand. And here we have a little gaggle of KTM crossbows with a Chevrolet Camaro hunting them down. There he is, the number 1 car, the V8 Racing International run car, teammate to the number 2 machine, which runs in 2nd place. And it's Donald Molinar that is trying to find a way past these 3 KTMs. That's the great thing about GT4 racing. For what you get, they get huge amounts of track time in this championship. They get to visit some of the best circuits in the world. There are 6 rounds in 6 different countries. We go to some fabulous places. We've already been to Monza, we're here at Pau, we go to Silverstone. The championship goes to Spa-Francorchamps, to Zandvoort, to the Hungaroring. So it's a fantastic selection of circuits. But you also get this fantastic battle where you've got one type of car which is totally different to another, yet they lap very similar to one another. Part of the reason for this is the balance of performance that SRO put in place to level up the series for these very different types of car. And at the start of the season, a single driver drives all of the cars, assesses them, and they can do things like changing the ride height of the cars, changing the weight of the cars, engine mapping, limiting the revs to equal things up. And it's working because we've had lots of different cars winning races and getting on the podiums already. You can see Camaro's up against KTM's, and we can see that Camaro has got past one of them now. So he's gained a place on the number 74 machine of Cedric Freeberghaus. 1 gained, 2 more KTMs to try and find a way past. You can see how the overtake, though, has let the first 2 get away. Now we're going to get a replay of the Porsche having another go, and Nicola Moller-Madsen getting through to 2nd place. That was the same corner where he tried to do it earlier on, 2 laps ago, went on the curbs and almost lost the car. This time, well, he knows that was the Camaro's weak spot. He knows the Camaro doesn't turn in quite so well. And very clever, smart driving that from Nicola Moller-Madsen to get the Porsche through. So BMW leads, Porsche now up to 2nd place, there he is, and the Camaro down to 3rd position. And we had the feeling that Moller-Madsen was a little bit quicker than Duncan Houseman at this stage of the race, and so it proves to be, because as soon as he gets past, whoo, he's gone. And we'll see what he can do now with a clear track ahead of him. Whether he can catch up to the race leader. Ricardo van der Ende now 9 seconds up the road, though, as he makes his way underneath the bridge at Pont Oscar through the left-hander, climbing up through the kink and making his way up towards this right-hander at Lisi-Barto, where we saw that overtake from Nicola Moller-Madsen up to the left-hander and flying up to the super quick right next at Park Beaumont. Blind apex here, you cannot see around that corner with the barriers, with how low the cars are, with the trees in the way, and they are fully committed around that corner. It's a great place to go and watch if you ever come here to Pau. Thudding over the curbs through the Foch chicane, which tends to catch drivers out. Here's another move, and it's going to be another place gain for Luca Anselmi. The Maserati, the white car, the blue and red stripes, he's going to get past the allied BMW of Jan Kasperlik, and that now means he is going to be up into 8th place. So 5 positions gained. Clear track ahead of him, and then I suspect it won't be long before he catches the next driver, which is going to be the KTM of number 74, Cedric Freeberghaus. And there was the move. The BMW ran out wide through Virage de Gare. At turn 1, through went the Maserati, got alongside, and then had plenty of grunts uphill along the Avenue de Pyrénées to make the move stick into Pont Oscar. There's number 44, Thomas Krebs, running in 5th place. Pit window, don't forget, is going to open in 5.5 minutes time. It's a shortened race, 45 minutes. So normally with a 50-minute race it would be with 30 minutes to go the pit window would open, but that's going to shift back now because of the race distance altering with the problems we had with the lights at the start of the race. Here's the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th positions, and the Camaro is through already. Good move that to get ahead of the 44 Thomas Krebs car and to gain a place. So Ricardo van der Ende leads, number 17 in the BMW. He's nearly 9.5 seconds clear of Nicola Moller-Madsen in the number 19 Porsche. Number 2, Duncan Hausman, having just lost second place, is third in the first of the Camaros. Number 14, he's on his own currently, Jamie van den Balk in the number 14 KTM. And then we've just seen the change for 5th place with the Camaro getting through. Car number 1 ahead of the number 44 of Thomas Krebs. So those two switch around, and coming after them sometime soon, I reckon, is going to be the next car in 7th place, number 90, the Villora Course car of Luca Anselmi, the Maserati Trofeo car, which has something like 430 brake horsepower. A car that used to run in the old Super Trofeo, adapted for GT4. There, I'm afraid, is Cedric Freeberghaus, the number 74 car, has clearly had a moment. That was running in the top 8, and it doesn't look like he's going to quickly get that one back on track. So after a good start to the race, Cedric Freeberghaus in problems. And Rata, the Norwegian, ex-Norwegian GT racer, will be hoping that that car gets running again so she can have her turn in the car for the second stint. There is number 2 in 3rd place, falling away from Nicola Moller-Madsen, but it's just done a personal best lap and not far away from the pace of the Porsche. So the Camaro is upping the ante somewhat. Gap is still a couple of seconds between them, but he's not falling away at quite the rate he was. Van der Ende extending his lead, and now into the pits comes the number 90 car of Luca Anselmi, driving solo for the race. Tyre pressures are being checked, not very much you can do to the car, of course, during this pit stop time, and he has to stop for longer than everybody else because he is not enduring a driver change, so another 35 seconds on top of the pit stop time. Here we can see number 77 running in 15th place. That is Patrick Zamparini behind the wheel of the red and white Maserati. He's a designer by trade, by profession, and an ex-rally driver in the 1990s. Was a rally driver, switched to circuit racing 4 years ago. And the Brookspeed Porsche there, just being lapped, the red and black Brookspeed Porsche, which is started in this race by Graham Mundy, who's plenty of experience in both Porsche Carrera Cup GB racing and also in Super Cup. Steve Licorice, his teammate, they're both in the top 3 yesterday in the amateur class, but it's been lapped by Ricardo van der Ende. And now we see the battle for 4th position has switched around, because the number 1 Camaro, now we see it again, is already ahead of number 14, Jamie van den Balk. So that's been a change of position. The blue and black Camaro gets through. So the Camaros are now 3rd and 4th in the race, having a much better time of it on the dry track than they did on in the damp conditions of last night. This car in particular has made up lots of ground. Donald Molinar started 15th on the grid. So with the pit window having just opened, in comes the Swiss team Maserati. This is going to be Mauro Calamia handing over to Giuseppe Fazicolo, and have to do all of this within the 80 seconds. No shorter, else they will be penalised for it. Back out then goes the car of Luca Anselmi, who I think figured I might as well come in now before I catch the next group of cars and try and set some quick lap times, and he's come out just in front of the race leader, look. So just about avoided being lapped here, which might be crucial for him come the end of the race. So number 17, the race leader, just behind the car, which was running before the pit stops in 7th place. There is the 007 car. No other number to have for an Aston Martin, really, is there? And that is Jerome Demey in the Street Art Racing Aston Martin Vantage, clattering the curbs there and working very hard to keep behind him the number 11 Sin of Hendrik Still. Hendrik Still driving the car at this point of the race. They are running in 9th and 10th positions as a couple more cars leave the pit lane. The Swiss team racing Maserati now with Fazicolo behind the wheel, accelerating out onto the circuit. These two, nose to tail, these two. The Sin, the number 11 car, a Bulgarian design car, which has been built in the UK. There's a road version of that car in the paddock as well, bright orange, which looks absolutely fantastic. So it looks like a sports prototype, but it is based on a road-going car, that. And that's the winners of the amateur class into the pits for their stop. So the Allied Racing BMW, Jan Kasperlik will hand over to Dietmar Lackinger. And that car, when it comes back out, once all the pit stops are done, should be somewhere towards the tail end of the top 10. Number 17, Ricardo van der Ende, has now lapped the Luca Anselmi car, and here is the Allied BMW making its driver change, and the driver that gets out helping to strap in the driver that gets in. It's helpful if you've got two drivers of the same or similar height, so you don't have to adjust seats and put padding in there or take padding out. And you can see the white number 30 Ginetta G5, which for a point in yesterday's race was running in third place, but in the end dropped back to 7th position. Eric Cairol, the driver that started the race yesterday, Didier Moreau starting the race this time around. And this is the stage of the race where Lapri starts to come into play now, but at least they'll see the blue flags today. In for its pit stop then, from 4th place, the number 1 V8 Racing International Chevrolet Camaro. So Donald Molinar, after a very, very good first stint from 15th up to 4th, hands over to Marcel Noren, his teammate. Jelle Bielen was the co-driver with him in that car for the first event of the season at Monza, and they finished in 4th place in the first race in Italy, 3rd place in the second race. So it's not a massive surprise to see them charging up through the field. And Marcel Nuren looked pretty handy yesterday. Somebody who raced BMWs for a number of years, up until 2013, raced in Dutch GT4 as well. The Torwagen Diesel Cup for diesel-powered touring cars. Into the pits as well, Hendrik still handing over to Andreas Gulden. These are a pair of drivers and instructors from the Nordschleife, the Nürburgring, and so classed as amateurs, but two very, very competent drivers. Steve Licorice, who many UK fans will know as a name from the Porsche Carrera Cup GB, the class champions a couple of years ago, takes his turn behind the wheel of the red and black Bruck Speed Porsche, the Southampton-based team, recently to be precise, in Hampshire. So 35, that's made its pit stop already. That means Giuseppe Fazicolo is now behind the wheel of the bright yellow Maserati, having to make that car very wide though in this battle for 12th position as they go back out onto the start-finish line. 22 minutes, 40 seconds remaining in the race. Pit stop still happening. Change of seat here in the KTM. It takes a bit of fiddling around, and when you're in a rush, it's easy to make a mistake. The 11th Sid is ahead of the Swiss team Maserati and coming after both of them, looking at the inside. That's the Ginetta G5, car number 30. Eric Cairol and Didier Moreau sharing the wheel in that car. And in comes the race leader. Not surprising, really, for Ricardo van der Ende to stay out as long as possible as the pro driver within the team. Andre Grammatico, a real enthusiast of racing and a BMW dealer, and a very, very capable pilot, will get in. Andre Grammatico did a really good job, as I said yesterday, to hand that car over in a good position to Ricardo van der Ende. It's a really small, lowish budget team, that really doing very well. Grammatico, the French driver, looking for success in his home country. Each of the 6 rounds of the championship are in different countries. In 2, number 19 from 2nd place. So Nicola Moller-Madsen is going to hand over the number 19 Pro Sport performance car to his teammates, Andreas Patzelt, who started on pole yesterday, lost the lead at the start, but really did push hard in 2nd place and was right on the tail of Jörg Wiebahn, former championship runner-up for much of the first stint of the race. Looks like Rebecca Jackson about to take her place in the KTM Crossbow. First chance to drive the streets of Pau in dry conditions, other than sort of part of the race was dry yesterday at night. But every time they've been out, it's been a new experience for the drivers that haven't been here before. So Rebecca will get into the car, which was driven very well in the first stint. Running 4th for quite some time was Jamie van den Balk, till he dropped behind the Camaro. So 5th place for the number 14 car. Laura Krayhammer is going to get into that one. We'll see where they filter out once the pit stops all happen. And the pit stop window will close at 12:05:41. So that's in less than 30 seconds time. So if you haven't been in, you've got to come in on this lap now. Look at how wet it still is offline there through the right-hander at Park Beaumont. Here through the chicane, number 30, the Ginetta still harassing the bright yellow Maserati, which in turn is trying to gain a place itself on the number 77 Maserati of Fugliani and Zamparini. 77 machine might just have to concede here, though, coming through. Yeah, to get through before the chicane, crucially, is the Swiss team car, and that will put a buffer between him and the Ginetta now, and gives him just that little bit of breathing space as they come back down towards the last of the chicanes and then back out through the last turn and onto the start-finish line. Looks like the allied BMW is in that mix as well. So Andre Grammatico, by the way, got out in front of the number 19 Porsche. It should have done. There was a nice big gap, and the gap from first to second is still 11 seconds or so. So no change right up front. The pit stops went well for the number 17 BMW Espace Bienvenue team. Andre Grammatico taking over from Ricardo van der Ende, who's given him a nice healthy lead. Andreas Vatzelt, though, might be very quick. Oh dear, damaged Camaro, and it's going to carry on anyway. Bumpers trailing, front right corner is mashed up, but the car, which was from 15th on the grid up to 4th place, the wheel being driven by Donald Molinard. Now that Marcel Nuren has taken over, it's gone rather pear-shaped, I'm afraid. And we didn't see what caused it, just the end result, whether it was on his own or it was helped. But a real shame after a great drive through before the pit stops. So that is one of the front runners out. Double waved yellows at that part of the course as the race leader comes through. A lap down still, but looking very quick, and closing the gap back up to the leader is Luca Anselmi, who should be looking at being in the top 10 once we get towards the end of the race, but of course he's had to stop for that bit longer than everybody else, which probably lost him a place or two. He'd gone from 13th up to 7th before the pit stops. But you can see just how quick he is, given the fact that he's very much keeping up with the race leader. Oh, contact here, spun around. 30 and 77 come together. 77, the Maserati of Fogliani, which already had a bit of bodywork hanging off it. Was a bit leery into the corner, into turn 1, Virage de Gare. So down the inside in the Ginetta went Didier Moreau, and inevitably, I'm afraid, there was contact. So a bit more damage to the Maserati. We'll get a replay of that now, I think. It was a bit leery through the kink. Then it was a bit of a daredevil move, lock up. I think he actually tried to back out of the move because he realised it wasn't quite going to happen. But he was all locked up. He skidded straight on and couldn't avoid running into the side of the Maserati. So in his excuse, he did try to back off out of the manoeuvre. Unfortunately, though, he couldn't quite stop the car in time. So now the pit stops have happened and the safety car is coming out. Probably a good time to give you a rundown of the order with 17 minutes to go. So Andre Grammatico has taken over the car, which was led by Ricardo van der Ende. Number 17, the BMW M3, leads the race. Now, of course, it was 10 seconds clear. It's not going to be 10 seconds clear anymore, thanks to the safety car. So all that work by van der Ende out of the window. He's built a nice big cushion up for his teammate. That has now gone. Still in the lead, but not by so much. And I suppose that's one thing that's frustrating, but also, in a way, something you probably expect at a street race. There's a fair chance there's going to be a safety car at some point, isn't there? So it's frustrating, but it's not massively surprising, I guess. It's the Camaro which is blocking the path, and good luck, marshals, because that's not the lightest car to try and push away. A bit's dragging off it as well. So Grammatico leads, number 17. Number 19, the Pro Sport Porsche, which was second last night, is second again. Andres Patzelt, though, will fancy his chances of having a go for the lead of the race. It's going to be much closer. I don't know if there's going to be any back markers in between them. We'll have to wait and see. There is Grammatico. Yes, there will be 3 back markers between them. But in terms of the gap, it's nothing compared to what it was. It was 10 plus seconds. It's now going to be a couple of seconds. And the interesting thing will be on the restart, because Andreas Patzelt will sniff a chance of a win here, but he'll know that he's going to have to dispatch with those back markers almost straight away to have a chance of getting onto the tail of Grammatico. Then he's got to try and find a way past a very quick driver. So Grammatico leads. Patzelt, number 19, second in the Porsche. Third, the number 2 of Luke Brahms, driven very forcefully at the start of the race by Duncan Hausman, who had a great first lap, although others might not quite see it that way. In 4th place, we've got number 24, which is the first of the KTM Crossbows, driven now by Leonard Marianek. So that one's come up well through the pit stops. That's gained a few places, that car. So the pit stop window worked well for them. 5th place is number 44. That is now Rebecca Jackson taking over from Thomas Krebs, so that's had a decent pit stop as well. Then we've got another of the lady racers, Caitlin Wood, the 19-year-old from Australia, who has largely a background in single-seater racing. Ladies National Kart Racing Champion in 2010, 3rd in the New South West Formula Ford Championship in 2013, and a regular top 6 finisher in the Australian Formula Ford Championship last year. She comes across to GT Racing, part of the Writer Young Stars programme, looking to move across to Germany to be near the Writer Engineering base, which is out in the middle of the sticks, out in the countryside. And Caitlin in 5th place. Only had 12 laps of running before the race yesterday. There is the Writer team, whose drivers are going well at the moment. Running in 5th and 6th, Rebecca and Caitlin. 7th place, number 14. So we've got the 3 lady racers together, because then you've got Laura Kreiheimer. She finished with her teammates Jamie Vandenbalk in a pretty credible 10th place yesterday. So Laura Kreiheimer lives in Germany, and she works in the marketing department at Audi at Ingolstadt, and was a former kart racer in 125cc Rotax Max karting for a number of years. In 2014-15, she then moved up to the KTM Crossbow Battle and was the champion of that. Now racing here with us in the European GT4 Championship. It's going to be at least another lap behind the safety car. So Laura Kreiheimer in 7th place. In 8th position then, we've got number 11, which is the Sophia Car Motorsport entered Sin, driven now by Andreas Gulden. And that car has come from 16th on the grid, so up to 8th place for the number 11 Sin. 9th place was the car that it overtook not long before the safety car, which was the Swiss team Maserati, driven by Giuseppe Fazicolo, the bright yellow machine. That runs in 9th place. And 10th place currently, we've got the number 28 Allied Racing BMW. Just about stayed in the top 10. Jan Kasperlik was the driver at the start. Dietmar Lackinger is now behind the wheel. So that's the top 10. In 11th place, number 7, Jerome Demey in the street art racing. Sorry, Albert Blum now in the street art racing car, the Aston Martin 11th. 12th place, Luca Anselmi, but the safety car will very much help him out. He was a lap down on the leader, but of course it's bunched him a bit closer to everybody else, and he's very quick, so perhaps a chance again of getting into the top 10 after a very disappointing qualifying session for points leader from Monza. In 13th place then we've got the Ginetta number 30, which is now driven by Eric K. Roll, who started the race last night. In 14th place, number 77, having had its whack and contact, Alessandro Fogliani in the red and white Maserati, down to 14th place. And then 15th place is the number 40 Brookspeed Porsche, driven by Steve Licorice, the Porsche specialists from Hampshire in the UK. So that's the top 15. We have lost the following cars. Number 1, the Camaro of Marcel Nuren, which is the car that's caused the safety car. And we've also lost from the race number 74, which was Cedric Freeberghaus in the KTM. We've lost number 64, another KTM, Emmanuel Vinca. We have lost number 84, the car which finished 3rd yesterday. That was forced into the barriers earlier on. Maciej Zdreza out of the race, I'm afraid, this time. Of course, we lost very early on Peter Terting with damage to the car from the incident on the first lap. And not starting the race were Simon Knapp and Rob Severs in the number 8 Ecris Motorsport car, and a couple of others that were due to race. We were due to have 23 cars, a very good grid of cars, but a couple of them crashed out of practice, including the other Ecris BMW and the KTM Crossbow Doreen Seidel, who's raced like Nicola Moller-Madsen in the Sirocco R Cup and the Audi TTs, the former Playboy model, alongside Marco Helist Kangas. Never got to start the race weekend, I'm afraid. So safety car remains out for one more lap. The Camaro being moved at the moment by the cranes. And it's not an easy operation, this, to move cars which are damaged off the race circuit. You can't just push them to the nearest escape road or behind a gravel trap, because there aren't any, essentially. There is one escape road, a very short one here at the first corner, but there, don't drop it. There is the number 1 Camaro. It's a bit of responsibility, that, for the crane driver, isn't it? Because that's quite an expensive car. which hopefully has been properly strapped up. But they do a great job here, the marshals and the officials at Pau. They're well versed in this sort of thing. And with it up in the air, that means the track is almost clear. They won't want to start the race until it's properly hoisted out of the way. But I'm fairly confident we'll be able to get back underway at the end of this lap. So there'll be, what, 8 minutes or so of racing once we get back underway. Plus 1 lap. Once the time ticks down to 0, it's plus 1 lap, don't forget. 9 minutes, 30 seconds left on the clock. You feel like the safety car is starting to build things up. Andre Grammatico leads in the number 19 Porsche. Sorry, the number 17 BMW, the number 19 Porsche of Andreas Patzelt in second place is the one to keep an eye on here, though. It's much closer. It's got a few back markers in the way, but he's a quick driver and he'll be eager to get through that traffic once the restart occurs and to get himself onto the tail of that number 17 BMW. There is Grammatico, then 1, 2, 3, 4 back markers. There is the green Porsche in second place, and they're revving up now, getting ready for the restart of the race. So Andre Grammatico, the instruction from the team will be get your head down and go, create a gap now. Use these back markers to your advantage. The Porsche is not actually that close, is he? I thought he'd been right on the tail of the first of the back markers, but he's not exactly hunting him down. So he'll have to, well, now he gives way. The 77 Maserati helpfully gets out of the way, but the Porsche flashes his lights. Was a bit slow off the mark there to get stuck in. He'll gain another one now, get past another back marker. But all the time, of course, at the head of the field with a clear track in front of him, Grammatico is going to be absolutely charging. Don't push too hard, though, Andre, because we still know it's very slippery offline. There is the number 90 machine of Luca Anselmi. 11th, it's gained a place. It's got past the Aston Martin. Here is our second place car, the green and white Porsche, driven very, very ably by Nicola Molomanson. Did a great job last night, did a great job in the first part of this race. Kept his cool when he was being battered about a bit on the first lap of the race. Andreas Patzelt, though, will want to go for this. Good second place finish yesterday, and a couple of second places will do them absolutely no harm in terms of the championship. But can he get through the back markers quickly enough? And has he got the pace then to be able to close the gap to Grammatico? He was 3.7 seconds clear already when they crossed the line last time around. Porsche still with some traffic. Of course, Grammatico is going to get traffic at some point as well, so it could work against him. But directly ahead of the Porsche, although he's a back marker, is Luca Anselmi, who's probably one of the quickest drivers out there. Now, here's a replay of a move from the number 28 Allied BMW, squeezes up the inside of the Swiss team Maserati. And that's a good move from Jan Kasper from Dietmar Lackinger to get ahead of Giuseppe Fazicolo. And another replay there onto the straight of all the battles going on. So the Allied Racing BMW will now be up to 7th place. Grammatico leads, number 17, number 19, the Porsche trying to get through the traffic and chasing him down. And then 3rd place, still the number 2 Camaro of Luke Brans. Tim Stupler, the first of the KTM Crossbows, number 24, is in 4th place. He's only a second or so behind 3rd. He's only a second or so clear of Rebecca Jackson, number 44, going really well in 5th place. Caitlin Wood really holding her own. Only 12 laps of practice, as I said, before the race. And also learning the track in the dry. Never been here before. It was the first time the championship has ever been to Pau. But still trying to get to grips with the circuit. And she's doing really well in 6th place, up to 7th place, as we saw Dietmar Lackinger, who's gained 3 places since the pit stops, where it came out in 10th place. Down to 8th position, number 14, Laura Kreheimer in the KTM. Down to 9th place, number 35, the Swiss team Maserati, lost another one in all of that. And down to 10th place, number 11, the Sin, driven by Andreas Gulden. Luca Anselmi, number 90 car, which is now just about forcefully to be lapped by the Porsche, who's had enough of him. Gets through, does the man in 2nd place, Andreas Patzelt, but he had to be pretty forceful about it. He is a back marker, number 90, Luca Anselmi, but he also happens to be the championship leader. He's not used to being blue flagged, and he's a pretty quick driver, trying himself to catch drivers ahead and get up into the top 10 if he can. So they're number 19. certainly delayed through the traffic, but still with an eye to trying to catch that BMW up. It looks like a move going down the inside into Pont Oscar. That's on the Aston Martin, so number 35, Giuseppe Fasicola in the yellow Maserati, gaining a place down the inside of Albert Bloom as they got through. It's a big traffic jam now, of course, because everybody's been bunched up together as a result of the safety car, which was out for about 4 or 5 laps in the end, while the number 1 Chevrolet Camaro was hoisted up in the air after its crash in the barriers. Less than 5 minutes to go then, plus 1 lap at the end of all of this. The gap between the top 2 was down to just over a second last time around, so I think possibly Grammatico got stuck in traffic a little bit. Patzelt can sense the opportunity. He'll be told all the time by the team on the radio how close he is to the race leader and what's coming up in terms of traffic. Blue flags waved furiously by the marshals. There's the number 11 Sin, driven by Andreas Gulden in 10th place, trying to chase down the number 14 KTM of Laura Kreiheimer. Gulden looking pretty quick at this stage of the race. There they are, there's the KTM, just about 2 lengths clear of the white Sin. There's the race leader then, number 17, Andre Grammatico, and the Porsche is with him now. There's no traffic between them. So that's why he was pushing on so hard through the traffic, and we've now got the 2 leaders with 3 minutes and 40 seconds to go absolutely together. We've already had 2 really close finishes at Monza, one of which was less than 0.2 of a second between the top 2 at the second race at Monza. The Maserati, in the end, just about hanging on to win that race, driven by Romain Monti, and it was a Chevrolet chasing it down, Duncan Hausmann, in that race. But here we've got BMW versus Porsche. Just behind them is a couple of very quick cars, including that Ginetta, which is a lap down but still very quick. And of course then you've got number 90, the Maserati of Luca Anselmi, which is trying to catch up and get itself up into the top 10. So nose to tail, can Andre Grammatico make that BMW as wide as he can now without over-defending? He's in the lead, he's got his nose in front, and he knows there aren't too many places where the Porsche could come through. But the Porsche is the quicker of the 2 cars at the moment. We've got 2 3/4 minutes to go, and this is going to be a race to the flag. Fantastic stuff here at Pau for the Competition 102 GT4 European Series. It's been another cracking weekend, far more overtaking than we could have hoped for in last night's street race, and now we've got a super tight finish after an action-packed race here. If you were in second place and you'd already finished in second place and you're Andreas Patzelt, you'd go for it, wouldn't you, if you got a chance to win a race, win a street race here at Pau? Second place is a very, very good result, don't get me wrong, but if he gets half a chance, I'm sure he's going to go for it. He started the race on pole position yesterday, so would have wanted to win that one, and it didn't quite work out for them. So can it be another victory for a Porsche, or are we going to get a BMW winning for the first time this season? Nose to tail they go. Grammatico is a decent driver though, and he's working hard. He'd be ruining the safety car. He would have had a nice big cushion if it hadn't been for the safety car, but there you go. It's one of those things. Sometimes they work for you, sometimes they work against you. He's just got to make sure he stays on the line now, and you can see he's slowing the lap times up because he's defending. He's not taking the ideal lines through the corners because he doesn't want to leave an inch going into the turns. Look how he's hugging the inside line here. If you want to pass me, you're going to have to go the long way around, pal, because I am not going to make life easy for you. I want to win this race. Grammatico, I'm sure, is being urged on by Ricardo van der Ende from the pit wall, who did a brilliant job in the first stint to get the lead initially and then pull away to the tune of more than 10 seconds. Grammatico's just got a few laps to try and hang on to this. The clock is going to tick down in just over a minute's time. Then it'll be one more lap at the end of that. Under the bridge at Pont Oscar they go. The track dry now, albeit for a few damp patches just offline, but even they are disappearing now as the sun for the first time this weekend properly comes out here at Pau. We get more southwest France type weather that we come to expect, and we usually get at this event. Look at this, and you can see the 2 back markers are kind of hanging on to them here because they're both pretty quick as well. Back markers, but they are still running on the fringe of the top 10. They're battling themselves for 11th place, so that's going to be worth keeping an eye on as well. BMW over the curbs then, dropping down the hill now, out of the Fosse chicane and through to the second half of the lap. Wide, 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 wide for the Porsche, and trying a different line here, past the houses, down the hill, winding and winding their way through on the brakes over the chicane curves. BMW under pressure again from the Porsche. He's trying absolutely everything here to get through. Patselt, can he find a way through at the best overtaking opportunity into turn 1? Clock ticks down to 0 seconds now, but they've already crossed through the line, so they will get another lap at the end of this one as well. Good news for the Porsche, going around the outside into Lagarde, onto the power for Grammatico. The back end slips around, he doesn't get the grip he wants. The Porsche's got better grunt, it's got better acceleration, contact! The top two crash, a full 360, the BMW carries on. The Porsche does a 720-degree spin all the way around. The BMW is now in trouble, broken front suspension, the Porsche gets going and gets the lead of the race. Oh, goodness me, could you have more drama at the end of the race? Grammatico is trying to make that car move, but he has not got steering on it, and he's going to be out of the race. Oh, well, he didn't need 2 laps because the Porsche went through. The BMW got out of shape coming out of turn 1, and then there was contact between the pair of them. Round and round went the Porsche. It nerfed the barriers a couple of times. It clipped the BMW on the way past. And I think it was as it clipped the BMW for the second time, that broke the right front steering on the car. And he went ploughing off into the barriers. He thought, yes, I've got the lead still. And a second later, the car wouldn't do what it was supposed to when he turned the steering wheel. So the Porsche goes through. And what drama here. Out of the lead of the race with just under 2 laps to go after a real battle. Andre Grammatico. And that was 2 drivers not prepared, very understandably, to give a millimetre. They're both desperate to win the race. Neither of them, why would you, wanted to give way to the other, and the contact happened. So the Porsche carries on, badly damaged at the front, but still limping on, and with a pretty healthy gap back to the car, which now turns into second place. Luke Brahms in the Chevrolet Camaro up to 3rd place. Another good result this for the KTM Crossbows. This time it's the number 24 car of Leonard Marianek, which has come up to 3rd place. They're not going to bring the safety car out because the race is almost at an end, so it's just yellow flags at Pont Oscar. The Porsche goes past the BMW. I wonder if there was any kind of message from Andre Grammatico as past him went Andreas Patselt. The 2 cars coming together a lap earlier for the lead of the race. How he managed to keep that car pointed in the right direction, I will never know. That was an awesome piece of car control. You know, he's doing a fair old lick. Plenty of speeds going uphill, flat out. He's got cars all around him. He's spinning around, he's banging into the barrier, he bangs into the barrier again, hits the BMW as he's spinning around, and somehow gets it pointed in the right direction. Cool as you like, puts it in gear and carries on. Incredible. So the car which finished as a very close runner-up yesterday, Andreas Patselt and Nicola Moller-Madsen, is almost home and dry. The car is going to hang together just about, and in the most dramatic of circumstances, it is going to be another win for the Pro Sport Performance car. This time for Andreas Patselt and Nicola Moller-Madsen. They take the checkered flag. You look at the gap to second place and you think, oh, that was an easy race. It was not. What a battle that was with the BMW of Grammatico and Van der Ende. Second place then goes to Luke Brahms and Duncan Houseman after their furious starts through the pack at the start of the race. That car really did carve its way through from the second row of the grid, and a very good 3rd place finish for number 24. The RYS Team Hollinger car of Leonard Marianek and Tim Stupler. Team is a bit cheered on by that, as you can imagine. 35, the Swiss team Maserati had a really good second half of the race there, came through all the carnage and somehow appeared in 4th place. There's Andre Grammatico, who will be a distraught figure, no doubt. He's going to have to get a lift back to the pits and the paddock. And I'm sure that both drivers will have their own version of how that happened, but it all happened in a split second. And in the end, I think probably a racing incident, wasn't it? They were just going for it, both of them, and there wasn't quite room for them to fit. Here's the moment then where a rather battered-looking Pro Sport Performance Porsche saw the checkered flag. Could have been out of the race, ends up winning it. On such fine margins are motor racing events won and lost. They're coming home in 5th place, also having a very good final few laps as others dropped away, with the Allied Racing BMW pairing of Jan Kasperlik and Dietmar Lackinger. There you can see the results on screen. An excellent result in 6th place for Rebecca Jackson, her first time on a street circuit in the number 44 KTM. The work at the start of the race was excellent as well from Thomas Krebs, her teammate. There's the rest of the results. 7th place went to the number 11 Sin of Still and Gordon. 8th place to number 34, another very good result for Caitlin Wood and Marco Hillis-Kangas. 9th place to the number 14 KTM of Laura Kreiheimer and Jamie Vandenbalk. And 10th place, he got into the top 10 in the end, was Luca Anselmi with another spirited drive. He managed to get ahead of the Ginetta G55 while all the carnage was going on, the two leaders. Well, some highlights now of the race. I think we all know what the highlight was, don't we, with a couple of laps to go, but that was the start of the race when it happened second time around. And there was the Camaro coming through, the BMW of Ricardo van der Ende. The M3 had a great start. The Porsche of Ricardo van der Ende from second on the grid got tagged, then had damage, and then was struggling. The 28 Allied BMW certainly had one or two moments in the race. The number 1 Camaro was driven really well by Donald Molinar at the start of the race to come through the order. That was when the number 84 KTM of Matsits Dretzer got tagged into the barrier. That was when Nicola Moller-Madsen, who dropped from pole to third, was desperately trying to get back ahead of the Camaro of Duncan Hausman for second place. He tried that move a couple of laps later and it worked. And there, coming through from 15th on the grid to 4th place, was the other Camaro. Here then was the move that got second place for the number 19 car. That proved to be a crucial move as well, didn't it, for Moller-Madsen? Because without that, they wouldn't perhaps have been in the position to challenge for the lead of the race at the end of the race. And we had all sorts of battles and overtaking. You expect cars to just follow one another around a tight street circuit. Not the case in this championship. We saw plenty of action, plenty of overtaking and some really good driving. We had the pit stops then. Into the number 1 Camaro got Marcel Nuren, but his turn didn't last long. The car ending up in the barriers, causing the safety car to come out. The Sin pairing, the Sofia Car Motorsport pairing of Hendrik Still and Andre Goulden swapping over. And the 10-second lead that Andre Grammatico had in the number 17 BMW was rather ruined later on by the safety car. There was the coming together between the number 30 Ginetta and the 77 Vilorba Corsa Maserati. Plenty more overtaking once the second drivers got in and really got to grips with the dry circuit, which of course they hadn't practiced on or qualified on. Good battle between the BMW and the Swiss team Maserati. Swiss team Maserati in the end coming through to a very good 4th place. And then this battle for the lead of the race. This is where it started. Trying to go around the outside was the Porsche. That pearl on the inside, slippery line the BMW, and then clip. Front left corner, making contact with the side of the Porsche from the BMW. It span around, it hit the barriers, and as it went back around and clipped the right side of the BMW, I think that's where the terminal damage was done to Andre Grammatico's car. Through went the Porsche at Pont Oscar to pick up the lead. Grammatico was desperately trying to make that car go, but it wouldn't, and he had to retire from the race. With bits flapping off the front of the car then, it was a hard-earned victory for Andres Padselt and Nicola Moller-Madsen. There is Nicola Moller-Madsen, there is his teammate helmet off, and there is the hug. The German driver and the Danish driver and the team all posing for selfies. I don't know what would have been worse, driving that or trying to watch it from the sidelines like Nicola Moller-Madsen and the team. They must have had their hearts in their mouths at one point in that race. So fantastic stuff here from Pau. And there, again, is a chance to see the overall classification. And, well, it looks like a fairly healthy win, doesn't it, on paper? 8.4 seconds. But if you watch the race, you know that that was not the story at all. Another good performance, though, from Duncan Hausman and Luke Brahms to get that Camaro, which is probably not best suited to this sort of circuit, up into second place. So they did do very well with that car. Case of tables turned for the Camaros, because yesterday it was the number 1 Camaro which went well and finished in 4th place, and the number 2 car which had a DNF, and this time it was the other way around. So the team V8 Racing International, who came here as the team points leaders in the team classification, having a mixed weekend but also picking up some decent points with the 1 cars that did finish each race well up there in the top 4, 2nd and 4th for the 2 cars over the 2 races. Not, again, too many cars failing to finish the race. The vast majority, even with the rain coming midway through the race when everybody was on slick tyres last night, the darkness, everything else to cope with. Very good effort from everybody to get through and get the cars, by and large, to the finish. And we had 1 or 2 more incidents in that race, but again, quite a good rate of attrition, most of the cars coming home. The GT4 European Series, powered by Competition 102 then, run by SRO Motorsport, who've been largely responsible for the regeneration and the rebirth of international GT racing over recent years, giving us an absolute thrilling race. We've been to Monza, we're at Pau. Our next event in the championship next month, in just 4 weeks' time, on the 12th of June, we'll take the championship to Silverstone in the UK, the home of the British Grand Prix. And then it's to Spa-Francorchamps, another world-class circuit, arguably the best circuit in the world, on the 10th of July. Then supporting the DTM at the Hungaroring on the 25th of September, and to Zandvoort in Holland in October for the 6th and final round of the championship. So now our drivers make their way up onto the podium. The Chevrolet pairing there of Duncan Hausman and Luke Bronze, very pleased with their efforts. Already up onto the podium are Tim Stupela and his KTM teammate Leonard Marinek, and here sprinting onto the top step are our race winners. Still with the Audi branding on, I notice, from his Audi TT Cup days, is Nicola Moller-Madsen to the right, and to the left, the driver that was involved in all of that drama at the end of the race, Andres Patzelt. The winning team, of course, of Pro Sport Performance, with their second team victory of the weekend here at Pau. And now our winning team's national anthem. The German national anthem reigns out for the Pro Sport Performance team. One German driver, one Danish driver, victorious. And goodness me, they worked hard for it. Bit of controversy, a lot of drama, but from a neutral's point of view, what a way to end what was already a superb race. You do feel extremely sorry for Andre Grammatico, for his teammate Ricardo van der Ende, who's had a bit of a torrid weekend with one thing and another. His original car being destroyed in free practice, then switching to another car, then getting so close to winning the race. But Andre Grammatico, well, he fought as hard as he could, but today it just wasn't meant to be. And you think at the very least they should have got a second place finish, but the car too badly damaged to make it to the flag. So now we'll have our trophy presentations here for the second race of the weekend, the fourth round of the Competition 102 GT4 European Series. And the trophies handed out to our 6 drivers, our top 3 teams here. I have to say it's been a real pleasure and privilege to be able to join the commentary team for these races at Pau. Last night was really enjoyable. Something special about street racing and night racing. When you put the two together, it's absolutely superb. But that race was one I'll remember for a very, very long time. It had everything, didn't it? Great race and a great championship, which has consistently delivered really good racing. And wish them all luck in the world for the rest of the season. Very different type of circuit next, as they go to the big, wide, sweeping run-offs and fast turns of Silverstone. And then to Spa, of course. And that's the beauty of the championship. They get to all these countries, get to all these different types of race circuit. And it's going to give us, I think, lots of different types of car and lots of drivers up on the podium. But for today, it is all about the Pro Sport Performance pairing of Andreas Patzelt and Nicola Moller-Madsen, who will enjoy, it's very early in the day, but they'll enjoy that champagne here at Pau. And it's been an incredibly successful first ever weekend around the streets of Pau for this championship. And I think there'll be a lot of us that will very much hope that we come back here next year and for many years to come with this championship. Certainly the fans here have been treated to some excellent GT racing. So very well done to everyone. Well done to all the marshals as well, who had their work cut out with 1 or 2 incidents to deal with. And the podium cleared of our top 3. So there you can see a very different picture to what we had for most of yesterday. The palm trees in their more rightful surrounding of sun-drenched backdrop now here at Pau, this fantastic circuit. So the top 3 teams having their podium. And in terms of the amateur class, the top amateurs once again in the BMW and once again in the top 5 overall. The Allied racing pairing of Jan Kasperlik and Dietmar Lackinger will be making their way up to the podium for the second round of presentations. Very nice trophies, and of course sparkling champagne awaits when they do get up onto the podium. Good to see here. Already this morning when I arrived early, lots of locals coming. It was a little bit down on numbers yesterday compared to what we normally have because the weather was so bad. But this is the main day, and right in the heart of the city. It's a very, very well supported event, this. They don't just come from the city of Pau, they come from all around France and indeed all around Europe to come and watch the racing here. So we now have our top 3 amateur podium, and from the UK, having made the journey to be here, another successful run for Steve Licorice and Graham Mundy, who get up onto the podium in the Brookspeed Porsche. This time they're finished a little bit higher up in the overall order as well, to come home in 12th place. So they get 3rd position, the British pairing there to the right of the picture, and making their way up onto the top step. Now, it's been a very successful weekend for this pair, and there are incidents in both races for this BMW, but somehow it seems to be built like a tank and has come through to win its class both times. Jan Kasperlik and Dietmar Lackinger doing a very good job once again, as we have our winning team's national anthem. Between we have Eric Cairol and Didier Moreau, who fought hard in the Ginetta as well. So Lackinger and Kasperlik winning the amateur class for Allied Racing for the 2nd time this weekend. Cairol and Moreau for CMR. Late entrance this weekend, but pleased they came for 2nd place, the local team, and they're specialists at Pau, those two as well. I should have pointed out earlier. They're both from the city and know the streets well. Probably the only pair that got to do any kind of practice around here by having a little tour around the circuit in their hometown. So the Ginetta up onto the podium, not such a good result as yesterday when they were in the top 6, but their local knowledge getting them onto the podium here. But the winning car, the Allied BMW, as I say, they get their trophies now. And an excellent all-round weekend, not just in terms of the amateur class, but in terms of their overall results for Jan Kasperlik and Dietmar Lackinger, who pick up the winner's trophy once again, and they'll be looking forward to the next rounds at Silverstone, and of course particularly at Spa. Okay then, so we're just about to finish our coverage here. We'll end with the champagne at Pau. Hope you enjoyed our coverage from France. From me, Chris Hartley, and the rest of the team, goodbye.
En 60 de sensations avec les différents invités de nos partenaires premium qui nous ont rejoints. Petite règle du jeu pour l'ensemble de celles et ceux qui sont du côté du parc Tissier. Pour les invités Total et TGF, rendez-vous pour l'apéritif dans vos loges en bord de piste. Pour les autres invités des différents autres partenaires, rendez-vous directement du côté du club Tissier, situé à l'opposé des pistes en plein cœur du parc Tissier, sous la villa Tissier. C'est là où l'on vous attend pour un moment de convivialité. Pour tous les autres, vous allez pouvoir déguster, goûter le cola fabriqué avec des eaux, l'eau des Pyrénées, le seul cola au monde fabriqué avec l'eau des Pyrénées. Il s'agit évidemment du cola So West à déguster dans l'ensemble des buvettes et sur l'ensemble des points de restauration situés au cœur même du circuit. Ils vous attendent du côté évidemment du parc Beaumont, écoutez du côté du Stade Tissier, juste derrière la tribune Prost, juste derrière la tribune Palmeraie, également du côté de la tribune Citron, du côté de la tribune Cernam. Tous ces points de restauration fort sympathiques qui vont vous faire goûter cette sensation cola des Pyrénées, le cola So West. Merci au groupe au jeu de s'être associé à ce 75e Grand Prix de Pau. Un peu de publicité, à tout de suite.